Good afternoon and happy start to another summer week. From the KUOW newsroom, this is Seattle Now. I'm Paige Browning with a roundup of today's top stories. It's Monday, July 20th. Starting with election news. Ballots are arriving and voting's begun for Washington State's August primary. But will President Trump's fight to change the voting system affect this election? Scott Greenstone has the latest.
Last week, Trump won a temporary victory in court over his push to use the Postal Service to impose mail-in ballot rules. Challenges to those rules are still making their way through other courts. Either way, that will not affect the upcoming Washington primary, election officials say. Federal law governs federal elections in November, but leaves primaries largely up to states. Nevertheless, election officials have been expanding in-person ballot drop boxes, an alternative to mailing your ballot. 15 new drop boxes have been installed ahead of the primary in Snohomish, King, and Pierce counties. Officials in those counties say they plan to install more ahead of November. Scott Greenstone, KUOW News.
In Washington state, there are dozens and dozens of races that are up for a vote this primary election. State government reporter Sarah Mises-Tan has more on the races.
Primary ballots this year will include races for Congress. The state's entire slate of U.S. House seats are up for election. Voters will also have the chance to shape the majority voice of the state Supreme Court, as a record number of those seats are on the ballot. In the legislature, an unusually high number of sitting Democrats face challengers from within their own party. Some city and county races are also on the ballots. Washington state's open primary system allows the top two vote-getters to advance to the general election, regardless of party. Voters have until August 4th to put their choices in the mail or in official county drop boxes. In Olympia, I'm Sarah Mises-Tan.
One thing hotter than politics this week in Washington is the weather. A heat advisory takes effect tomorrow morning as an incoming heat wave is set to blanket western Washington. Temperatures will peak between 88 to 95 degrees region-wide tomorrow and Wednesday. That means there's a moderate to major risk of heat-related illness. Dana Felton is a forecaster at the National Weather Service's Seattle office. He says air quality will also start to deteriorate this week as wildfire smoke drifts in from Canada and eastern Washington.
Right now, it looks like Wednesday will be the peak, and Thursday, our low-level flow transitions to onshore, which is off the ocean, and by Friday, we'll be getting that onshore flow pretty strongly, and that will get rid of any of the smoke issues.
Right now, air quality in western Washington is rated healthy, while pollution is leading to moderate or unhealthy conditions for sensitive groups in parts of eastern Washington. Some cooling centers around our region will open starting today. In health news, the hospital network Providence Swedish recently announced that its Seattle Family Medicine residency program will end its relationship with 3 King County health organizations by 2029. KNKX's Mitch Borden has the story.
Over the next 3 years, Providence Swedish is phasing out training primary care providers at the Seattle Indian Health Board, International Community Health Services, and the Carolyn Downs Family Medical Center. International Community Health Services has 6 residents from Providence Swedish who care for around 2,000 patients, many of whom are of Asian or Pacific Islander descent. That's only a small fraction of the number of patients the center cares for every year. But the center's Dr. Jeffrey Gibbs says cutting training slots could have long-term consequences for the region.
Fewer primary care residency slots in the Puget Sound area is going to make access to primary care worse.
In a statement, Providence Swedish says cuts to its family medicine program is in response to mounting financial pressures. I'm Mitch Borden, reporting.
To criminal justice news, a new audit finds nearly half of Washington State's juvenile detention center frontline staff quit their job within a year. It reflects wider ongoing issues in the state's juvenile detention system. Natalie Akane-Newcomb has more.
The findings from the Joint Legislative Audit and Review Committee show many staffers report they don't feel safe and aren't getting the necessary training. Secretary of the Department of Children, Youth, and Family Services, Tana Sen, said in a hearing last week that the root of the problem is that facilities are overcrowded.
Because we cannot do additional training if there's so much overcrowding, and so we don't have enough staff to go out to do more training because we need them on the floor to ensure that we are providing safe ratios that are required by federal law.
Both Echo Glen and Green Hill Youth Detention Centers have been over capacity since 2023. The report also found incidents of violence and contraband at Green Hill Youth Detention Center quadrupled between 2022 and 2024. For KUOW News, I'm Natalie Akane Newcomb.
In the worlds of business and entertainment, some notable news today. Washington state officials are celebrating today's judge's ruling to halt the merger between Warner Brothers and Paramount. Washington Attorney General Nick Brown co-led the multi-state lawsuit to stop the conglomerates from merging, with states alleging it would extinguish competition in Hollywood and lead to fewer choices for consumers. A federal judge in New York ordered a 2-week halt on the deal. Even more locally, SIF employees have authorized collective action, including a potential strike. The SIF Cinema Workers Union told The Stranger that management's wage proposals were regressive, while SIF management says they bargained in good faith. Unionized employees staged a walkout on Friday ahead of the highly anticipated 70mm screenings of Christopher Nolan's new movie, The Odyssey. Some soccer to wrap up your Monday. Seattle is boasting a new championship-winning team this week. Salmon Bay FC took home the national trophy Saturday night with a win over Vermont Green. The women's football club, based in Ballard, surpassed local teams from West Seattle and Olympia to make it to the regional conference, then ultimately hosted the national championship against Vermont. This year's Men's World Cup may be over, but fans in Seattle say it is only the beginning for soccer in the city. Casey Martin reports.
That is the last time you're going to hear that in Seattle this summer, a World Cup watch party, this one in the U District. Sunday's final capped off over a month of dozens of neighborhood parties like this in a town that hosted World Cup matches for the first time.
Oh, I loved it. I went to so many different places. I went to Pike Place, the waterfront.
Juan Salutis lives close by and was wearing the Seattle soccer jersey. He watched the games with the more than 3 million people who came to Seattle for the tournament.
The atmosphere was so amazing. So many different cultures and different people coming in here. It's really made me proud of the city.
The local group that hosted the 6 matches says they already have their eyes on the Women's World Cup in 2031. Casey Martin, KUOW News.
Next time on Seattle Now, how to prepare for the heat and smoke that's in Seattle's forecast this week. That's all for today from the KUOW Newsroom in Seattle. Our producer's Vaughn Jones, and I'm Paige Browning. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. Catch you later.